All right, this is Chris Rubio of Rubio Long Snapping in Northern Idaho. I'm speaking with the great Dr. Conor Hogan in Galway, Ireland, over 4,000 miles away. We've had 3 fantastic conversations, interviews, dialogues, whatever you want to call them. This is going to be number 4. We've spoken about angry coaches, the ones that just yell. We've spoken about calm coaches. Maybe they don't say anything at all. And we ended the last episode with it's got to be a lot of outside factors off the field, or pitch, as you say, Doc. And it's going to be one of those, how do we handle it? And so now we're going to talk about parental involvement within this subject matter. So your kid comes home, he's got a yeller, he's got a coach that doesn't speak much. You're obviously the parent of a long snapper. We figure this out here, or you can use any athlete. We'll just use long snapper because yours truly. Doc, what do we do? I mean, how do you do that? You're speaking with thousands of parents of athletes. You're speaking to a parent of 2 teenagers and a 9-year-old. It's one of those things you obviously want your son or daughter to do well. You want them to do extremely well, but you also want them to be comfortable, but you also don't want them to grow up to be let's say, be too soft. So where's the line? Is there any tricks? Is there any tips? Is it just a communication thing? Go, you tell me.
Yeah, I mean, look, I could go into the difficulties and the ins and outs and, the psychological, neurological and all that kind of stuff. But the reality is all the parents or even young people that will listen to this is that they will say, well, the first thing they'll do is they'll compare exactly what we're saying to their own particular relationship between they as a young person and their mother, or they and the young person as a father, or they with their son or daughter, or with their stepson or stepdaughter, stepfather, stepmother, whatever. So whoever is that person in their lives, that parent or young athlete in their lives, look, exactly what you said. Every parent is looking for them to do well, right? There's nobody wanting them to do badly. They all want them to do well. No matter what, me or you, Chris, we will not have the emotional tie with a young person that is out there playing the game. No matter how many hours you spend or any coach spends with them, they will still not have that, because that's tied in. And I mentioned a lot about neurological stuff. That's tied in with genetics. That's so tight. You won't get it any tighter than that. That said, though, like I mentioned before, there's the environment, and that's what you're creating as coaches, as organizations, as teams. You're creating an environment. And the funny thing is, again, there's a lot of different research out there saying that we can do this and we can do that. And, obviously every day and every week and every year, there's more and more stuff coming out there that, teaches us about how to do things better, which is great. But in general, it's about doing nothing as a parent. Absolutely nothing.
Explain.
Well, so if we recall as a parent, for example, sending your child to the first day at school, right? They're 3, 4, 5 years of age.
I remember.
They are young, they are vulnerable, they are naive, and it's their very first time getting out there and being socialized for, over a half an hour even with other children, with an adult that's caring for them perhaps. So they're not actually going to have their parents around. And so in a classroom, and many years ago I was a teacher, and I was in a classroom, and you'd be in a classroom with 15, 20, 25, 30 young children of 4, 5, 6, 7 years of age, and they are all beginning to socialize themselves. So they find their way. I mean, if we all look back on the time when we have our best buddy or our best pal, we didn't actually choose them. They just happened to be sitting beside us, or the teacher.
They were wearing a striped shirt. I'm wearing a striped shirt. Let's go.
Exactly. I've got glasses, you've got glasses. Let's sit beside each other or whatever, I see something he's playing with. I like it. I'll sit beside him or whatever, so, and it starts from there. But as a parent, it's natural in that scenario. You're stressed, you're anxious, you know your child better than anybody. And there's nobody saying that you don't, you do. Because even if you think you don't, even if you haven't been around them for a few years, or you're not actually a sporting person yourself, and you're just wanting them to do well and pushing them towards playing sport because they love sport, and we know that they're, that they have a certain talent and stuff. The reality is, them better, their person better, their buttons that are going to be pushed. We spoke before about the coach who yells or the coach who is quiet. the reality is you as a parent trust your instinct, you know it better. And your child then is going to want to know that you know them better as well. So as a coach, the awkward thing is that, you guys are kind of, you want to do your coaching. And in order to do that, unfortunately, you need to be like the teacher in the classroom. Not in every way, but you need to have full control that you can close that door, and unfortunately the parents then go away and you can do your coaching. Now, I don't mean that in a bad way.
No, no, I get it. You mean, I always, the phrase that I always use is, mommy and daddy, you need to cut the cord.
Okay.
Let the kid go. I'll take care of him. It goes back to when I was teaching the same thing when, the sixth graders, 11 years old, they're coming in, and it was, okay, you guys are fine. Well, they'll be okay. And then they come in, and it's a matter of, as a parent, willing to trust that you haven't raised an animal. You've raised a human being that's, going to be able to function in society, whether it's a kindergarten, preschool classroom, or, in front of 108,000 people at, in the national championship game, but you've raised them well enough. And what am I hearing that it goes back to what the parent knows? Okay, I was raised by my mom and my dad, and they did this. Yes, that worked for me, but my kid is completely different. I know, I can tell. And as a parent, your kids better than anyone else. Little Johnny, I grew up, I was able to be yelled at. Little Johnny's a little bit more, whoa. Okay. So as a parent, I've got to be able to bend my teaching a little bit towards the kid more.
Yeah. I mean, you mentioned the word trust there. Okay. And the trust has to, if the coaches or if the team or the organization, if they're professional, this is what professionalism is. If they're good enough, if they are, for example, you're a private organization, therefore you're trying to do the very, very best. The people around you, the people you hire, the people and the techniques you use, you're trying to do the very best. You're looking out for the best of everything because you want your organization and your people, and that to seep down ultimately to your athletes for them to be the best long snappers out there. So there has to be a trust in, from the parents, that they trust their children, that they will, and where's that trust coming from? It's coming from the child saying, daddy, daddy, or mommy, mommy, and pulling their arm saying, I want to go to that camp, or I want to be coached by that person. So you have to trust their instinct that they love the game, or they have a talent or both for the game. So even if you don't know anything about the game, even if you know a hell of a lot more, or you think you know a lot more than the coaches, you have to cut the cord and you have to just let them be with the professional coaches. And the reality is, if we look at it from a long play point of view, again, if you're in a stadium packed of 80,000 people or so, the cameras are on you, you cannot be thinking back to mommy and daddy.
No, you cannot. I've seen it happen way too often, where, it's one of those things where you can always tell the certain type of athlete when they make a mistake. Do they look, you can see them almost look inside, or do they immediately look to mommy and daddy? The ones that look to mommy and daddy right away make me very, 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 very nervous, because mommy and daddy aren't always going to be there. They can't. And what's going to happen the one time when you do mess up and mommy and daddy aren't there? I mean, that becomes more and more like you're saying, where mommy and daddy, and I've even told parents this before, you do your mind stuff on this one. When I've had long snappers that mess up, I tell the parents, if you see your long snapper mess up, and you see it like at the camp, because no one's perfect, everyone's going to mess up. I say, when you see your long snapper mess up, immediately look the other way. So they look at you, if they are one of those kids, and they see that you're not watching. Because then it's like, well, I just fell in the boat. Mommy and daddy can't give me a life raft. Holy crap, I better learn how to swim. And that's, I mean, is that a proper thing to do? Am I ruining the kid by telling the parents to do that?
No. I mean, look, here's the thing, right? We're the top kid, the top coach, even the top parent that knows it's sport. They all agree on one thing, that concentration is going to win. A game is one game, but then you've got a season of games. If you lose today, you lose. It might be the long snapper that is the reason why you lose. It might be the quarterback. It might be every other position. It might be just the team. It might be the morale. It might be lots of other things, the weather and so on. But over a season, over the duration of a longer competition, you're trying to be the winner, right? That's the aim of the game, right? If they love the game, if they have talent, that's what they want to do. So as a parent, obviously you want primarily your child to be happy. So by doing nothing, like you say, by just looking away, what are you doing? Well, if they're focusing on you, and they see that you're not looking, they don't have time to think that, my mother or father is not looking because they're on the phone or they're thinking about going somewhere after or whatever. They're getting back into the game. They're concentrating. They look away and back to where does the away look go to? Back to the ball, back to where it should be, right?
Love that.
If you're not, if the parent is not there, like in reality, if you're a player and anybody, in fact, the worst parent, worse at sport or performance will actually understand this one, is that, if you're no good or not playing well, then you're going to be looking over to the sideline, right? Because if you're playing well, you're just going to be concentrated. You're going to be in the zone.
Yeah, you're too focused. You're focused on playing.
Focused,
you've dominated this play. Hold on, let me focus so I can dominate another play.
And that's what I'm saying, do nothing, because even if the parent reacts or doesn't react, the problem, unfortunately, then is it's probably what happened before the game, and the nurturing and the relationship may have been skewed. There might have been an argument in the car or something in the way, where basically if the child or young person is looking over in the first place to looking for some sort of communication from a parent, it's too late. Whatever happened beforehand, it's too late. So go back to the preparation of that. If you're a coach or you as a coach say, hey, right, we've got a game on Saturday, let's do practice on Thursday, for example, and they have a bit of a team talk, and everything's prepared down to a T, and it could be prepared for the whole season down to a T. That 5 minutes when the parent is dropping them off in the car, or talking to them in the morning, having the breakfast, do nothing. Don't even talk about the game. The preparation is done. I mean, what are the actions here? Actions speak louder than words, right? You as a parent have done marvelously well to bring them every way to the practice, to bring them at 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 years of age, at that really raw age, and they've kept it up, and they're now 15, 16, 17, 18. Let's look back 1,000 years. 15-year-olds were, working a day's work. They were not being educated in high school, so they have the capability to a certain degree, and they know they're not fully mature. I'm not saying that, but there are sports players out there over the years who've been extremely successful at 16, 17 years of age, and on one individual performance, under massive stress and strain, they can carry a team. Now, obviously, they're not there to do that, and a 26 or 36-year-old is going to be more mature to do that, and it's better for their whole life to do that. We all know that. But if a 15 certainly year old has to look across, there's something deeper going on there within the relationship, and it might just be from getting the wrong end of the stick through something like where are we going for a meal afterwards or something like that. And it just might be something in the child's head or young person's head. It might be external to the family, and this is giving compliments to the best of parents. It might be something like a relationship or a friendship that's going askew or something like that. It might be something a parent might have said, they didn't realize they were saying it towards football or towards the parent relationship. So that's what I'm saying, do nothing. In fact, times of the game itself coming up, even if the young person saying, hey, I'm cool, even if they are the coolest personality, do nothing until they come and ask you. That's different. If they come and ask you, hey, what do you think of this? Or my coach said do this. I'm not really comfortable in doing that in that way. That's different, You're on
absolute fire right now. So let me just, because I'm drinking from a fire hose right now, taking all this information in, which is fantastic. Bottom line, what you're saying is less is. You've been taking them since you're 3 years old. It's like the whole. Do you know who John Wooden is? Famous basketball coach at UCLA, won bazillion national championships. UCLA, phenomenal school. That's neither here nor there.
Yeah,
but it was one of those.
I'd be very aware of a couple of his close contacts, and I've had similar conversations like this. So what I'm saying here as well is not just coming from my mind. Well, it is coming from my mind, obviously, but it's coming from all my education, but also my experience and in linking and with other sports and top professionals in other sports. It's not just football and coaching, and there are parallels across the way when it comes to not just obviously long snapping, but there are specialist positions in other sports as well.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Similar, yeah.
Is like, because John Wooden, what I was saying, his whole thing was, and Phil Jackson, who coached the Lakers and the Bulls and all that basketball stuff, they were famous for during games, they looked like they were doing literally nothing. Wooden, I think he had like a little rolled up program. Phil Jackson looked like he was cutting his fingernails on the side. And he looked, and I remember reading a quote from, I want to say it was John Wooden, where he said, I shouldn't have to coach them during the game. If I'm coaching them during the game, I didn't do my job in practice. And I remember hearing that and going, whoa, that's insane. But it's such an easy, obvious point. And I think it brings exactly back to what you're saying of, game day, you're not going to be taught. I mean, you can talk maybe a little bit of X's and O's with your kid, but what more is going in there, dude? You've got like a 17, 18, 15 kid. Their minds are like this as it is. You've got girls, ice cream, nachos, school, football, all that good stuff. All hell's breaking loose. You're really not cracking that dome anymore. So, it's one of those things. Hey, have fun, try your hardest. See you after the game.
Yeah, it really is. It's much closer to that than it should be to exactly what you're just saying, this kind of everyone shouting and roaring. I mean, the reality is most people shouting and roaring. We spoke about this before about the parent the coach who actually is a yeller. I mean, in some ways that's coming from their own things, their own past, and then trying to transfer energy that unfortunately is being received in a negative fashion more often than not. It doesn't mean they don't care, though. In fact, they could be the most caring of coaches of all. They could be the most passionate of coaches of all. They could be the most knowledgeable of coaches of all. And the same applies to parents. So by you, abruptly just walking away with, their child in come, let's play football. Let's do what we're doing here. Let's get our game faces on. That's just a transfer of ownership. I'm now looking after your child in my space right now because I'm the manager, or I'm the coach, or I'm the leader of this particular team, or training session, or whatever it is. So I mean, you have to cut the cord. 6 o'clock is game time. That's it. But you know what? The mind, naturally enough, we all start thinking about 6 o'clock Sunday or 6 o'clock Friday evening, whatever it is. That's the big time. That's the game. That's where their parents come. That's where my girlfriend comes. That's where my friends come. It's going to be broadcast. It's going whatever. So there's all these other connectors to other people. So you're thinking, even though my girlfriend doesn't actually like football, she doesn't understand it. The reality is, if we win, she's going to be happier because she's thinking I'm happier. So that's a pressure on a young person straight away. Why complicate the matter if you're a parent? Do nothing. You've already done the job. They're there and succeeding at this stage because of you. You've done the hard work.
Dude, you're a stud. That was awesome. That was by far. I mean, like I said, drinking from a fire hose. That was amazing.
Cool. Well, I'm glad to help. If there's people out there that get it, and even what, if people disagree with that, that's fine. We can always talk. We can always, perhaps, I presume, Chris, you'd be up for chatting again if there's any other questions.
There's no doubt after this one. I'm thinking we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. This will be the fourth. What we'll do is we're gonna get some parents on. So we're gonna open it up. The parents, you're gonna love this. So we're gonna have to figure out a time that works for Galway, Ireland time, and Rubio long snapping time. We got to figure this out. But so this is, we're going to wrap up episode 4, conversation, interview, soliloquy, whatever you want to call it. I don't care. Dialogue with the great Dr. Conor Hogan and Chris Rubio of Rubio long snapping. This was phenomenal, man. I really appreciate your time.
Cool. Delighted to do it.